PlayStation gets a consensus on the internet. Apple supports right to repair. And Phil Spencer talks about the future of Xbox. Before we get into the news stories, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Let's get to it. Just recently, I made a video praising PlayStation for new hardware. Their adaptive controller really seems amazing. Well, I can't say the same for their new release. If you weren't watching YouTube last night, and maybe you were, and maybe you were just watching videos from the gaming community, but yeah, there is a general consensus of their new hardware device, and that was originally called Project Q. Well, it's got a brand new name, PlayStation Portal, because the Portal branding really worked for Facebook. In all actuality, it actually does sound good with the alliteration. I do keep screwing it up and saying portable, PSP, come on. But this is definitely no PSP. Let's start with the hardware specs. It has an 8-inch screen, LCD. It runs 1080p at 60 frames per second. Cool, awesome, great. It has a DualSense controller attached. Another good thing, USB-C charging. 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. A headphone jack. Haven't we been begging for that for years now? All seems really good. But it's not what it has, it's what it's missing. And the biggest thing it's missing right now is Bluetooth. You know, I do really enjoy using wired headphones. I do love the low latency over the wire. But when Apple got rid of the headphone jack with the iPhone 7 and pretty much every phone followed suit, almost everybody bought Bluetooth headphones. Well, nah. PlayStation doesn't want that. They ain't about that game. They want you to buy their new headphones that rely on PlayStation Link, which is supposed to be incredibly low latent. Well, a lot of speculation on why this has occurred, saying since the Portal is over Wi-Fi connected to your PS5, they didn't want to cross signals with Bluetooth and have worse latency and screw up the game sound. I don't believe that's true. I think that they want to sell their own proprietary system. That they want you to buy the Pulse headphones, one being $199, I believe the other being $149, which is $199. That's the price of the Portal? So if you're speccing this out, that's already $400 for accessories, and this is an accessory. It is not a true gaming device, and we're going to get into that in a minute. And quite frankly, did they not learn from Nintendo when Nintendo didn't have Bluetooth headphones? Nintendo brought it. Did they not learn from their previous devices when they used proprietary technology? The Vita had its own storage card. That didn't work. The mini disc didn't work. They had their own type of SD card. That failed. So I don't know if they've learned the lessons of the past, but this does not seem like a good move. Let's talk about this being an accessory, because this I do not really consider a streaming device. And that is a tough thing to say because it's going to be very nuanced, because to me a streaming device comes from the cloud. It's cloud streaming. Every other streaming device, especially a portable gaming console, has been from the cloud. This is a tethered device to your PlayStation. It's done through Wi-Fi. What's actually really cool is that it doesn't need to be on the same network. That is actually a big bonus. But if you come to think about it, if you really want to be like taking this with you, where are you going to take it? Who has that great of Wi-Fi that you could be playing these games? Like a coffee shop? No. A library? Definitely not. Hotel room? Dear God, no. You can barely load a page in a hotel room. So Yeah, it really is tethered to your PlayStation. Huh, and that's not great in 2023. This device probably should have come out a couple of years ago. That would probably have been a lot better, especially like right before the pandemic. That would have been amazing when everyone's inside using all the devices, because they are selling this as if someone's watching the TV that your PS5's connected to and you want to play your games, you can just pop over and use this. If you're a parent and you don't want to play, their example is God of War on the big screen and have your kids see it, you can do that. That would be great when everything in the house is being used all at once. But the way the market's going, with the Steam Deck, with the Switch, with the Ally, the Neo, and Lenovo is coming out with their own. It's a portable full gaming device that you can stream over the cloud. And they have just pooped the bed. They have definitely pooped the bed. I don't. Why am I saying poop? They shit the bed. I'm already 5 minutes in. I'm not monetized. Why am I holding back here? This is just the device that is at the wrong time. And I'm not sure who this really was built for, because if you're going to buy this portable device, yes, the examples they use are great, but you're really going to want to take it with you, and you just can't. You really just can't, and that's kind of insane to me. It really is insane to me, especially since they describe this as a remote play device. Well, remote play works on other devices, and just full disclosure, I've never used it, so I don't know what the latency is on it, if it's really that bad. I know I've used Game Pass, and that was pretty good. So I don't know what remote play is like. Maybe it's horrible and they need this, but it doesn't work with, the premium services. There's other things that you could possibly want to stream off of it. Say like a YouTube app. It has no internal, storage operating system. And so you can't load up your apps. You have to rely on calling back to your PlayStation. And yes, it shows your PlayStation screen. If you have digital downloads, it seems like you can use them that way. Seems like. I've not seen a demonstration of that yet. It's a lot. It's really, really a lot. So I don't know what this is. They bragged about the feature that you can turn on your PlayStation with it. This is just a Wii U gamepad. Come on, PlayStation. How well did the Wii U do? So I personally do not know who this is for. I really don't. But tell me what you think. Are you going to buy it? Do you think you have a purpose for it? Do you think it's going to improve in that they're going to bring game streaming to it in the future? Because there's a lot of flaws. I forgot to talk about the battery. We don't know the battery capacity yet. They haven't made a determination. They say it's going to last about a DualSense controller, and since I don't have a PS5, I just hear that they don't last too long. So do you think this is the right device now? Nintendo has made a move to stop piracy. It's very well known that Nintendo games are pirated more than, say, the Xbox and PlayStation, and that's for a pretty simple reason. PlayStation and Xbox games, they tend to be cross-platform and typically come to the PC, so you don't really have to pirate these games. You can just wait. And with new services, they're becoming cheaper and cheaper. But Nintendo is the holdout, and that's why you always see leaks of brand new Nintendo games. Well, they've partnered with Denuvo to stop emulation and hopefully prevent piracy. Seems like a good thing for Nintendo, right? Well, it's not good for consumers. It's really not good for consumers. Because Denuvo's reputation is actually quite horrible. And what they do is they add software that is the constant check back to see that you're using, legitimate software. That you bought it legally and you're using it on the proper device, and it just checks back with the servers every time. Games that have had this, well, they've had the problem of not working too well. Their performance has gotten worse with this software in the background. because it kind of stops the game just to do this check. I don't think it's a full stop. It's probably just a stutter. I don't think I've played a game with it. But most people just understand that this is not a great way to do it. And considering it does it with like top-end spec hardware, the Nintendo Switch already has a lot of problems with that. Their performance just on the Switch alone is not great compared to other systems. It usually runs the game at a lower FPS, at a lower resolution. And you add a clunky software that has been known to slow down other games, gameplay appears that it will just be hindered. And Nintendo really needs to think about that. Is it worth going after those who emulate? Many of them have stated they've already bought the game, but just want to use it on their computer because they can get a better gameplay. I mean, those are really the serious gamers, and I'm going to just be like, I'm not trying to insult anybody here, but there are very serious gamers, and then there are the casual gamers. And Nintendo's base is more of the casual gamer. And I will give a personal example. My nephew is 8 years old. He loves his Switch. Yes, he plays video games. He loves all the Mario. Luigi's Mansion is his favorite. But would he put up with poor performance? No. No, just a lot of kids play the Switch. And something slowing down, like, they're just not have the patience for it. So I think this is a bad move, but I have never played a game with Denuvo's software installed. If you have, tell me what your experience is in the comments. Do you think that Nintendo should be fighting emulation so harshly, especially since they're the ones who don't really give access to, say, older games? They don't give access to better hardware. So tell me what you think. Now this next one, I cannot believe I'm going to be saying these next words. I do not understand the words that are about to come out of my mouth, but Apple supports right to repair in California. California has introduced a Senate Bill 244 for a right to repair, stating that technology companies need to provide schematics, diagnostic tools, parts, and the tools needed to repair devices. In an open letter to State Senator Eggman, Apple says it supports SB 244 in its current form. That blows my mind. Apple, the ones who got rid of the charging brick. Not to protect the environment, but to save money. Apple, who used the lightning connector instead of USB micro. Apple, who started soldering on the RAM and then the SSD to the logic board, making it kind of impossible to replace without the chips, without a soldering iron. Like, Apple, who digitally in the software tied each part of your phone to the specific logic board, and if you replaced it, even with genuine Apple parts, did not allow full functionality. Apple, who has the activation lock, that even if you purchase a used product legally, but it has an activation lock, you have no recourse on having it removed and basically creating e-waste. They support right to repair. Apple, who said they will provide self-repair kits that cost nearly as much as sending it back to Apple, when any other repair system would be significantly cheaper. They're the ones who want to save money for consumers. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. Apple, who was forced to put in USB-C by the EU. They're the ones who support right to repair. What is in this bill? I have not seen a full copy of the bill, so I can't really talk about anything, just what's in the news right now. But it seems like it's kind of just a 180 on what they've typically done. Because Apple, with their new M series that has all the controllers on the SoC, the system on the chip, that even though there are M.2 slots, 2 of them in the Mac Studio, that where you could upgrade the storage, you can't, because everything's on the SoC and you can't just stick one in. I don't know what they're trying to do here. I don't know if they're trying to get ahead of the game. I don't know if it's just a marketing ploy. I don't know if, like, Steve Wozniak has taken control again, who loves customization and has supported the right to repair movement. Maybe they just let go of a bunch of people. I don't know. But I feel it's disingenuous. I think it's just something to say, oh, yeah, we sent a letter. Would be more telling is if they actually release the chips to, say, independent repair groups like the Rossmann Group, who I'm just going to leave a link to his rant about this, who can fix MacBook Pros with, changing out the microchips, but can't get them dirt cheap because they don't cost much, because Apple has told all manufacturers not to sell to anyone but them. So I don't believe they're in for right to repair, but tell me what you think. Do you think this is legitimate? Do you think this is an actual step forward? Continuing with right to repair, there was a big win in Massachusetts this week. Previously, voters had approved a ballot initiative stating that all car manufacturers needed to have an open source platform for the automotive field. They wanted to take their cars to any repair shop to be serviced. Well, the Biden administration had originally told Massachusetts that they shouldn't enforce this law. The Biden administration, who had a presidential statement, an executive order for right to repair, had originally denied this law. Well, this week, they have reversed their decision and has told Massachusetts to start enforcing the law, which is good. It's good. People in Massachusetts have protected their right to get their cars repaired wherever they want. Auto manufacturers, dealerships have to give out the tools so they can diagnose problems with the cars and be able to fix it at a cheaper price, most likely, because this is how our free market works. It's supposed to be competition, but I don't like, it frustrates me. It really does frustrate me, because this is literally like what our system's supposed to be. People being able to go wherever they want, have actual competition, but everyone's starting to gatekeep. This is the same problem that farmers have with John Deere. They have proprietary software, so they cannot repair tractors, and they have to hack their tractors with software they got off the dark web from, like, Russia or someplace in Eastern Europe. I don't remember off the top of my head from all those news stories. But farmers who typically have worked on their tractors for generations and kept them running because it's such a huge investment. I thought, like, automotive repair was settled. That this is the one thing, like, in our culture, like, hey, you can work on your car. Anyone can work on your car. Yeah, but it's a big win. It's a big win because Massachusetts is following Colorado and New York, which was gutted, but it's supposedly full right to repair for at least one sector. Hopefully we can get it into farming, medical equipment, military equipment, gaming equipment. Like, if we had some legislators that actually understood technology, I think this would be done by now. But I feel this is a good thing. Do you think this is going to be fully enforced? Do you think there will be a turnaround in the legislative branch? Now, I want to talk about the Phil Spencer interview he did with IGN at Gamescom. It was actually pretty interesting, and he talked about the future of Xbox, but let's break this down. First, he was asked about the new Activision Blizzard proposal, where Xbox will be selling the rights to cloud streaming to Ubisoft, and they can choose whoever they want to work with and whatever devices they want to work with. And Mr. Spencer was kind of very specific about how he described this interaction is going to work, because the question is, will it be day one Game Pass? And he said that most people don't understand what it takes to get a game onto Game Pass, you know, the hardware requirements of loading it up. But the way he phrased the deal with the Ubisoft, and was very specific about cloud streaming. Well, Xbox Game Pass is two things right now. It's having the game available to download onto your console. So that's not streaming. And then, of course, the cloud streaming onto any device. So it sounds to me like moving forward, yes, things will go onto Game Pass day one for download. And it'll be up to Ubisoft to put it on streaming. That's just what I'm putting out there based upon some very vague answers, but very specific on the words he chose and how to separate the two. So I do believe that's what is actually going to occur. Then it was asked about, you know, is the Series S hindering development for the Series X? And Mr. Spencer said that first, he doesn't believe that we're truly out of the start of this console generation, that it's been pushed back due to all the issues we had during the pandemic, which I agree with. It does seem that way. Then he also explained that for the Series S and the Series X, yes, there are different hardware requirements for it, and that they have the tools to alleviate those issues, and they're not being utilized by a lot of game developers. And he also discussed what they're seeing in the gaming community of how people play, because the question was about split screen, especially since Forza Horizon is coming out soon, and it was typically played split screen locally. Well, the best way he described it, give or take, is that it doesn't seem like people are doing that anymore. That it will probably be eventually something they put into the game, but it doesn't seem like gamers are playing that way, that it is online. And it harkens back to when I used to play with my friends, and you know, the original Xbox, playing Halo on it, playing Halo 2, and we had the big CRT TV, and there was the 4 boxes, and you shouldn't peek over to see what other people are doing. I don't know, it just doesn't seem like, it really doesn't seem like people are playing that way, but you can tell me if you and your friends are doing that, or if you're just playing online. And I agree, you got to focus on what's actually being used. Those are all nice things to have, but they're not things that you need to have to play the game. And quite frankly, they are kind of looking for just the online play. You don't, I've done a video on this, you don't really need really hardware intensive, you know, systems to do the cloud gaming, and it's really looking like they're pushing that, because as he stated, he wanted Xbox games everywhere possible, that it was never going to be a problem with PlayStation, and that they would lose money if they didn't have games on PlayStation. I believe that. He says that his measure of success is where people are playing the Xbox games. How many people are playing Xbox games? And that is a fundamental shift in how most people have looked at the gaming sector. It's always been about like console sales, and I don't think they're playing that game anymore. So tell me what you think. Do you think that's really the future measure of how we determine if a system's successful, is through who's playing what games? You know, he's talking about, you know, playing on the ROG Ally, that's his portable Xbox, which also makes me think that they will never make a portable Xbox. Just putting that out there. So what do you think about how we measure if a system's successful? Do you agree that these systems are being underutilized? Do you think the Series S actually is hindering the Series X? Especially since there is no apparent console refresh coming. Okay, so big tech companies are getting ready to institute the regulations brought on by the EU's Digital Service Act. The Digital Service Act goes into effect Friday, August 24th, and since I post this at night, and I'm doing it on Thursday the 23rd, you're probably watching this on the 24th, and those affected are already definitely in the 24th because of the time shift. And it basically states new regulations on how big tech companies collect and use your data, especially on how they advertise to you. Now, there are a bunch of tech companies trying to fight their definition of being a large tech company, one of them being Amazon. Good luck with that, Amazon. You're definitely small. So very, very small. You're a little itty bitty company that has a book selling website. You're definitely going to win that. But I think this is good because the EU has actually been more forward in tech regulation that we've needed. Yes, they are the ones that told Apple they need the USB-C, which they didn't technically say they need USB-C. It just needed a standardized charger. We'll see. We'll see what goes on there. But I hope that these regulations do come to the United States and all around the world, because there are some pretty shady, deceptive practices out there on the internet. And if it's anything to think about, if it's precedent, the USB-C situation with the iPhone, apparently they're going to bring it to US iPhones too. That's here nor there right now. So they're ramping up, trying to see if they can pass these regulations. Some companies have performed tests on it. Meta, Facebook performed a test, and of course they failed. They failed horribly, apparently. And so I see this being a slow rollout and a lot of, in-court battles about what constitutes, deceptive marketing practices, what constitutes as false information. It's going to play out harshly, but I do hope that it gets settled and comes to the United States. Just like I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you didn't, thumbs down. Cool. Leave your comments below. I know I asked a bunch of questions, said leave a bunch of comments during this, but I enjoy it. I actually talk back. Hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Now, this has been a long one, and you've made it to the end. You're hearing my voice right now, which makes you an amazingly beautiful person, and you are the best in the world, and we love you so much over here. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.